Hi, welcome to the Corner of Knit and Tea, episode 241. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy K on Ravelry, Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at the corner of knitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my handspun yarns. And we have a Ravelry group called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, August 12th. As you can hear, I am recovering a bit. Right after we spoke last week, I got pretty ill. I had a pretty good head cold cough thing going on, and I still have the vestiges of it, but I'm feeling much better. It was Tuesday and Wednesday that I was seriously under the weather, and luckily I wasn't too under the weather to knit a little bit, but I'll show you what I worked on. I needed something very simple, because concentration was not really anything I wanted to do. So I am feeling better. We had a lovely weekend. It was hot, but we had a quiet Saturday, and then on Sunday we did all the things. I went to a dye day at a friend's house, and I'll show you a little bit of what I dyed and talk a little bit about the process. And that's dye, D-Y-E, of course. And then my mother-in-law was in town for dinner, and we had shopping and grocery shopping and all of our chores to do. And so the weekend flew by, and we are headlong into another week. It is halfway through, well, I guess it's not quite halfway through August because it's August 12th. But around here, kids are going back to school this week and next. Which always seems early to me. I grew up on the West Coast and we never went back to school until after Labor Day. But here in the Midwest, they go back mid-August. So it feels like things are starting again. I have not yet been bitten by my fall knitting bug, but I expect that to happen any day now. Every fall, well, I should say sometime in August or very early September, I usually get bitten by wanting to make all the fall knits. And the only reason I think I haven't been is because I have so many projects going right now. But I expect that to kick in very soon. It's still a little hot for working on big wool projects, but when fall comes, I will be all about all the knitting. I call fall and winter the pinnacle of the knitting season because it is cool outside and I want to knit cozy garments to wear and share. So, how are you? I hope that you have had a wonderful week. Let's get into the podcast. So today I am drinking creme caramel from the tea house. It is tea that I picked up while I was in London earlier this year, and it is lovely. It is a black tea with a sweet caramel flavor, creamy vanilla note, and China and Ceylon teas. A delicious dessert tea in a cup, and I could use a little pick-me-up this afternoon. You know, we're getting into mid-afternoon. It's like 2-3 o'clock, and I could use a little pick-me-up to get me through the end of the day. After this, I'll do a little bit more work and edit the podcast, and then I have lots of knitting to do this evening. So today I am drinking in my friend of the pod mug. That is crookedmedia.com and Pod Save America. It is a podcast on American politics. So that is what I'm drinking today. It's delicious. It's hot. I'll probably burn myself. But yum. And like I said, that is going to hopefully get rid of the touch of headache that I have and get me through the afternoon. I'm probably in need of some caffeine. I know, that's terrible. So let's talk about what I'm working on. First, we'll talk about the thing you know about, which is my shawl. And last week I showed you all the ripped pieces and talked about how much not fun I was having ripping everything. Well, the good news is that I was able to fix a lot of the things that bothered me in the first draft, and I am steadily working on a second draft. So again, this yarn is Manos del Uruguay Alma, which is their new Merino Superwash single. It comes in 546 yards, 500 meters to 100 gram skein. So it is a super light fingering weight, and it is a Superwash Merino single. And this is the label, and I have two colors. One is called Inspiration, that's the light orange, and the dark orange is called, I believe, Mercy. And these are the two colors that I am working with, and you will notice they are in various states, having been ripped and reknit. I will say, this is a really lightweight single, and actually it feels a little bit lighter. Well, it is a little bit lighter based on yardage per ounces. than something like Tosh Merino Light. It's a little bit heavier than Malabrigo lace weight. So it's not a lace weight, it definitely is a fingering weight. I will also say that it felt super soft and not as hardy as some of the other singles that I've used, but I have been pleasantly surprised because I have ripped it several times, and while it is a little bit fuzzy, it has actually really held up, and it has not pulled apart. And I was really afraid that when I was ripping that I was going to destroy the yarn, and then have to somehow get another skein or figure out what to do with it. I am reviewing this yarn for them, and so it is delightful to work with, and it rips easily and reknits and looks beautiful. So I am very pleased about that. And here I am so far. This is as yet untitled. It is going according to plan. It is kind of scrunched up on a needle. I did in fact decide to use my US 6 signature needles that I bought at Stitches Midwest. So that has been a pleasure. Excuse me just a moment. I'm still trying to fight off the cough. And so I have started, excuse the ends, there I was working off of some of the balls that I had pulled, so, but there is a first section, a dark section in the dark orange, and then I am doing short row sections. The first is a short row section in the lighter, and then there is a pinstripe of the darker, and now I'm starting the second short row section. So it's really hard to see. It will mostly look blobby until I finish it. I'm not sure how many short row sections there will be. I would like there to be 3, but I am going to base it on the yardage. Excuse me. I'm going to base it on the yardage that I have left because I do not want to use every... Okay. For designs for myself, sometimes I will knit it larger to use up every single last bit of the skein because I want to make sure that I use up the yarn. When I am thinking about designs for other people, I am aware that other people may knit at slightly different tensions. So even though I will give a stated gauge, my plan is to try and leave at least 10 to 15 grams of the yarn left over so that it will allow for those who knit at a slightly larger gauge to complete the project. I would not want anyone to run out of yarn in the stated yarn trying to complete the project because I used every last scrap. So that is my plan. I will be doing some weighing. I will continue to knit. I hope to finish this by the end of the month. I am feeling positive that that might happen because I basically have 3 more weeks to work on this. So that is my as yet unnamed design. Sorry, it's all kind of crumpled up, but hopefully I'll be able to show you more in the next couple weeks. And then when it is available, I will let you know. The design is being made available for free for a company if you sign up for their newsletter. So that is where this will be. Like I said, I will tell you about it when it happens. And then I believe somewhere later on, if you don't want to sign up for a newsletter, I will be able to offer it for sale later on. But it will probably be exclusive for 6 months. So that is what I'm working on right now. And hope to get some good progress in on it this week. So let's talk about what I cast on this week. I am so sorry. I'm just still congested. I mean, I feel fine. I just, I guess my talking, I haven't talked that much recently. Okay, so let's talk about what I cast on. When Tuesday, I think I was running a slight fever and I was really not feeling well at all. My throat was really inflamed. I had no voice. And I decided that I just, I worked a couple hours and then I was like, I just need to sit on the couch. So I sat on the couch and I watched TV and I wanted to knit, but I didn't want to knit on my design because I didn't want to screw it up. And I didn't want to knit on the sample that I was knitting, which I can't really show you, but it's a sample for a catalog, and I didn't want to mess that up either, and it's in brioche, so it's highly likely I could mess it up. So I didn't have anything super simple on the needles. At the same time, a former coworker had a baby a few weeks ago, and I have been sort of remiss in not having knit a baby gift. And I knew that I wanted to knit a sweater, and it is August, so nobody needs a sweater in August. So I knew I wanted to knit a 3 to 6 month size sweater so that it would be good for the fall and winter. So I decided to settle on a really, really simple pattern and some worsted weight yarn, size 7 and 8 needles, and just do something that was super simple, not a lot of thought, didn't require a lot of concentration, and it would sort of be instant gratification. I am very much a product knitter, and when I have lots of different knits that I'm working on and I'm not seeing a lot of progress on them, I really start to feel a little despondent. I don't necessarily... I mean, I always like the finished garment, but mostly what I like is being able to see the fruits of my labors, and so when things take a long time or show very slow progress, I find it really difficult to keep myself motivated. Baby knits are pretty much the opposite of that, because even if you're knitting a fingering weight baby sweater, it's still going to be knit up in about the same time that it would take you to knit a pair of socks, because it's about the same yardage. So baby knits, I love them, and so let's talk about this. The yarn I am using is from my new local yarn shop, and I was looking for an alternative to Cascade yarns, which I have discussed in previous episodes. And one of the alternatives that I wanted to try, which is carried by my local yarn store, is LRA Superwash Classic Wool. It is machine washable pure virgin wool. It is 100% wool. 100 grams, 219 yards. So very, very standard worsted weight. I bought 2 skeins, and I don't remember, the colorways are named, and I put them in, and they came up with colors, but I don't remember what they are. I remember what the green is. The blue is some sort of a dark blue. It's really, really nice. It's a kind of a dark but bright blue, and then the green that I got is called pea soup. So I thought these would go nicely together and make a striping sweater, and I didn't have a specific sweater in mind. I figured I could knit whatever I wanted, but when I got down to it and got ready to start knitting, I went back to a pattern that I have knit before. It is called the Coffee Bean Cardigan, and it is by Elizabeth Smith, and it comes in, I believe, 3-month, 6-month, and a year size. And my gauge is a little bit off, so I think I'm somewhere between 6 months and a year, but I think it'll be fine because the baby was 9.5 pounds at birth. So I feel like he's going to be a little bit big, and so I feel like a 6 month to a year should fit like through Christmas and into like January, February, March. So I think it will be fine. And the thing I love about baby knits is they knit up so stinking fast. So Tuesday I cast on, and this is a little raglan top-down striped sweater, and I, Tuesday alone, I had already taken off the sleeves and started to work on the body. Wednesday I finished the body. Thursday or Friday I put the first sleeve on, and it just needs one more sleeve and the button bands now. So this is my little coffee bean cardigan, and I ordered some buttons, and like I said, my gauge is just a smidge off. My row gauge is fine. My stitch gauge is just a smidge off, although I measured and it seems like it's coming out roughly per size. The pattern calls for 7s and 8s, and I probably should have dropped to 6s and 7s. And I kind of know that about myself, so I probably just should have done it. The wool itself is, it's pretty squishy. It's a little rough. I'm hoping that I'm going to go ahead and give this a wash, I think in the washing machine, because that's probably how she's going to care for it, if I'm really honest. So I'll probably put it in the gentle cycle in the washing machine, and then put it on tumble dry low, and see what, you know, in a low temperature, and see what happens. Honestly, if it gets ruined, A, it's my fault, and B, I would rather it get ruined when I do it than it get ruined when Mom does it, because she'll feel bad, and I'll be annoyed, but I'll know. So, and like I said, I'm auditioning this yarn as a replacement for Cascade 220 Superwash, so I would like to know if it will behave well. So that's my little cardigan. Like I said, I have one more sleeve and button bands, and I hope that will be finished this week. I'll probably show it to you next week and then mail it out. Obviously, they don't need it right now, but I would love to send a little welcome gift. The baby's name is Hunter, so I'm calling this Hunter's Coffee Bean. So that is what I worked on this week. I was pleased to be somewhat productive even when my head felt like it wanted to explode. And it also... you know, this was one of those things that wasn't technically on my list to knit this month of like the obligation knitting that I needed to do, but I'll get it done and then I won't think about it in the next couple months because I was wondering where I was going to fit this in. So that is the other knit that I am working on. Sip of tea and we'll continue. I really am sorry. There's nothing I hate more than listening to people cough and be congested on their podcasts. I hope the content is worth it. So yesterday I went over to a friend's house. She has it's a combination photography lab and dye studio in her house. Basically, it's a dark room in the basement, fully enclosed. She has put in big sinks so she can dye or develop photos. And then she's got a variety of dyeing supplies, microwave, a couple crock pots, etc. She is getting ready to move house, and she has quite a bit of dye stock that's been mixed up for the last couple of years, and she would like us to use it up. So she invited us to come over with all of our things so that we could hang out with her. I brought two things over to dye. One was a sock blank, and I have that here, and I wanted to talk a little bit about what I was trying to do and what I might have done wrong and how I might fix it. So, she had a variety of bottles of dye stock. She probably has 15 to 20 different colors of dye. She doesn't have all, not exhaustive, but she uses, well, you know what? I can't tell you what she uses. They are acid dyes, so they are for wool and animal fibers. And she had a variety of colorways that I love to use, like fuchsia and turquoise and violet and whatnot. And then she has a bunch of colorways that not everyone uses all the time, like yellow and orange and chartreuse. And so for my sweater lot, I went much more traditional. And I wanted to go for like a deep dark purple. And so I combined some brilliant blue and some cherry red and put it in the crock pot. And I don't have that here today because it was not completely cooled when I left yesterday. So she said she would rinse it out and bring it to me. And unfortunately, she also said there are a couple white spots on the skeins, which really sucks because it was a big crock pot and it was really full of dye. So I suspect that what I will have to do is try and fix those the next time we go over there to dye, which I think we'll be doing again before she moves. And at that point, I don't know whether I'll try and stick it back in the crock pot or whether I'll just try and paint those spots, just so that I can use those skeins. But I went ahead and because she was trying to use up all the different colors, I went ahead and picked some fun colors for the sock blanks. And so I had one sock blank. This is a double sock blank. It was machine knit by a friend of mine who sadly is no longer with us. She passed away a couple of years ago, and I've had this for a long, long time. She had a knitting machine, and so she used to crank out sock blanks for people and sell them in her Etsy shop. And so I purchased one, and I decided to dye my sock blank chartreuse. So it is bright, bright, bright green. Now, the other color that you see in here is a violet, and it came out a little bit more periwinkle because the yarn did not take the dye as much as I thought it would. And in general, the skein is not as dark as I thought it would be. The end that I really like is this end, because you can see the chartreuse, and then you can see a few spots where the dye kind of clumped up and it's yellow, and then you can also see kind of a violety blue. In the middle of the skein, I tried for a similar thing, and I just don't feel like it came out as well. I think it's like much more muted. And I really don't think actually that the camera is showing this in its full glory anyway, because it is bright, 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 bright neon green with splotches of yellow in there. So I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do with it. It would be fine for knitting socks. I did get one other nice like blue section here. But I haven't decided if I'm going to put it back in or if I'm going to kettle dye it or exactly what I'm going to do with it. I do like the chartreuse. I think I just wanted a little bit more of another color, and I'm not such a fan of the muddy bit in the middle. Like, I like where it's a lot more pure color at the ends, but I just don't know what I'm going to do with it otherwise. So, and part of this was being in unfamiliar colors. We all kind of have our wheel color house, and generally I stick with the jewel tones. And part of it was my not really knowing how I wanted to paint this, and I was pouring from bottles as opposed to actually painting with a brush or whatever, and so it was very inaccurate and, or not inaccurate, but imprecise. So I haven't decided exactly what I'm going to do with this yet, but because it looks, some of it looks nice and some of it doesn't look so nice, and I can't decide. But on the other hand, I actually don't mind if it ends up being like crazy green socks, because everyone should have crazy green socks. Anyway, and I don't know if it will just subtly stripe in this section, which might be okay too. So that was my somewhat unsuccessful dyeing experience with a sock blank. I have done this before. I've done some amazing sock blanks before. This just didn't quite come out the way I liked it. And worst case, I will dump it in a pot with a whole bunch of blue or something really dark, and I'll over dye it, and we'll see what happens. So let's quickly cover spinning before my voice decides it's done, because apparently it is deciding it's done, and then I will let you get on with your day. So because I spent so much time on the couch this week, I actually got to spin. And a few weeks ago, I showed you a braid from Hello Yarn that was Happy Happy Thank You, and it was kind of orange and rusty colors with a little bit of this like pale, not shimmering, but pale icy blue. And then also some purples. And this is all I have left. This is 2 ounces, which means this is just an ounce, which means I have already spun 3 ounces of the braid in singles. So I just need to finish this up. I don't know if it'll be this evening, but I should have a skein of handspun to show next week. And this one will be for the shop. It's on Falkland. In general, all of Adrian's fibers draft really beautifully. This is exceptionally wonderful. I have really enjoyed spinning this one. It is drafted super easily and super thin, and so I expect to get some really nice yardage on this one. So lastly, what will I start on my wheel next if I have a chance? I dug into my stash. I apologize for the crinkling. And found some fiber bats, and as you know, I love looking at bats and I don't always love spinning them, but these are from Deep Stash. These are from Dripping Fiber Studios. She is, I believe, no longer in business. And these are Merino, Superwash Merino, Porth, and Sparkle. They are 4.7 to 4.9 ounces, drum-carded bats, and the theme is Girl on Fire. They were from when The Hunger Games was out, so this is a while ago. And they are red and purple and burgundy and orange, and there's a little bit of sparkle, a little bit of Angelina, as you can see in them. And I have 4 of these bats, total weight a little over 4 ounces, and they are carded pretty smoothly, so I'm hoping that they will spin smoothly, and we'll see what kind of a yarn they make. I haven't decided if I'm going to try and pull them apart and do it as a gradient, or if I'm going to keep them as they are. I will probably keep them as they are and just spin it as a variegated yarn. So more on that to come in the next week or two. So I apologize that this one's a little bit short, and for all the coughing and sniffling. I hope by the time I visit you next, I will be completely over this, and my voice will not be problematic for a podcast. I hope that you are having a wonderful August. If you are on vacation, enjoy. I hope you're doing lots of wonderful crafting. And until I see you next, I will say happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.